wherever you might be on this planet of ours. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. My name is Ron Tyler. We're glad to have you here on our program today. Thank you for being here, guys. You guys are awesome. I want to welcome Demon Catman back. He hasn't been here for a couple weeks. We appreciate Demon Catman more than you'll know, Brother Dean. God bless you for being here. Judy's here. Renee's here. Demon Catman. Sleeping Volcano. Renee Steffi. Let's see. Who else do we have here? C is here. Judy Olson's here. We have quite a group here, but we don't have everybody that I would have thought that would be here right now. We have DBG here. Hello from UK. Welcome, DBG. We appreciate you being here. Thank you for being here. We have quite a number of people from the British Isles here. It's awesome that you all are here. I was expecting our buddy Vagabond also to be here, and he may also show up tonight. Folks, we have a lot of things I want to talk to you about. A ton of things. I want to talk about earthquakes right off the bat. Let me take down our banner here. Let me bring up the USBS map. And yes, that's exactly what it is. It's a BS map. I want to show you what is going on, though. Okay? That's what's important here. I want to show you what is actually happening. USGS map is populating right here. Let's bring it up here and show you what is going on. Now, USBS is not talking about all the earthquakes. Look at this. This is supposedly Southern California. I'm going to tell you now, there are probably close to 1,000 earthquakes in Southern California. 1,000 earthquakes just here in Southern California alone. I'm going to specifically talk to you about Southern California earthquakes today, and more specific, the San Andreas Fault again. We have new warnings about the San Andreas Fault. That's why I want to talk about it. But USBS cannot even tell the truth to us. That's my point. The USBS is not even trying to tell us the truth. Let's go up to northern Alaska here, right up here. Now, folks, the last time we had an earthquake here was many, many years ago. This is a minor 2.0 here near Katavik, Alaska. Katavik, Alaska. This is just south of the North Shore of Alaska, where we have oil and gas drilling going on up here. But Katavik, Alaska here, guys, is something to see. Why? I go back to 2019, July 4th, 2019. On July 2nd, here in Katavik, Alaska, we had a 5.0 earthquake. A 5.0 earthquake. That's not happened for many, many years now. But right after that, 2 days after that, we had a 7.1 earthquake over in Ridgecrest, California. 7.0 earthquake in Ridgecrest, California. And now scientists are saying that it was actually an 8.0 quake. Here today, near just west of Katavik, Alaska, west of the North Shore of Alaska drilling platforms, we have a 2.0 earthquake here today. Most of the other earthquakes here are in southern Alaska here. Again, I want to go over here to Anchorage, Alaska right here. We have an earthquake just south and east of Anchorage. Folks, this is not a big deal. This is a 1.7 tremor here. This is a 1.7 tremor here. Now, folks, what makes it special? Can anybody tell me what makes it special? Basically nothing. Basically nothing. It's just a tremor here. But folks, back over here on the other side of the Cook Inlet here, right here, we have Mount Spur. Mount Spur is still showing signs of unrest. Satellite photographs show lava in the top of the summit of the volcano. Lava at the top of the summit of the volcano. It's not erupting. It's not fountaining. But there is lava at the top of the summit. Okay? Yes, we've had a lot of earthquakes, tremors and otherwise. That is just some of the unrest. Prior to now, we have had some steaming, but very little lava at the top of the summit. Today we have lava at the top of the summit. We shall see what happens. Again, I'm going to issue a cautionary warning for people in this area of Alaska, and also not just Anchorage. I'm talking east of Anchorage over at the Air Force Base. I'm talking over here near Willows, Alaska as well to the north. This whole area needs to get their act together. You need to be prepared for whatever is happening. Now, this volcano is not putting out any ash at all. It's not putting out any ash at all. But if it does erupt, there will be ashfall here in Anchorage, Alaska. So you folks need to make sure you have your masks ready. You need to make sure you have your first aid kits ready. And you need to make sure you have your emergency preparedness kits as well. You're going to need them. You folks in Anchorage need to do this. And you need to do it very soon. If any of you have friends, relatives, or other people up here in Alaska, please tell them. Mount Spur is showing signs of unrest, and there has been lava at the summit of the volcano. Okay? It's going to erupt at some point in time. It will erupt at some point in time. Further down here to the south, right here, Old Iliamna volcano. We've talked about this in the past. I'm talking to you about it now. This is Old Iliamna volcano right here. This is a minus 0.1 microquake. This is, however, 2 miles deep. 2 miles deep. USBS has it as minus number, meaning above sea level. This is not above sea level. 2 miles deep would be below sea level. Okay? Again, USGS cannot tell us the truth about what is going on. I don't believe USGS is even capable of telling the truth ever about anything. Literally anything. Now, over here in the Aleutian Island chain here, this is a 3.7 mine earthquake here near Nikolsky, Alaska. 116 kilometers west of Nikolsky, Alaska here. Further west over here, this is an entirely different story. This is a 4.7 moderate earthquake, and right here, this is a large 5.0 earthquake. Where is it at? 45 kilometers west of Adak, Alaska. 45 kilometers west of Adak, Alaska. Now, why is this important? It's on the coast of this island here. It's on the coast of this island. But what's up here to the north? Another volcano, isn't it? Another volcano. Out here in the ocean here is a 4.7. Now, it's far enough out, 43 kilometers out, that nobody felt any of these earthquakes here if they even live on this island. There may be people living down here on the interior of the island down here. It doesn't show any populated areas, however, but they could be living here nonetheless. But out here, we have a large earthquake here right at the coastline, right smack dab at the coastline. Okay? Somebody may have felt this earthquake. Somebody may have felt some parts of this earthquake. They're not going to find the 5.6 on land here because the absorption of the Baltic Sea here is going to absorb the waters, absorb the strength of the earthquake here. Okay? That's what's happening here. Let's go further down here to the west. The Rat Islands here. This is a minor tremor out here in the Rat Islands, out in the ocean here. Nobody would even feel 1.8 tremor either. But this happened out in the ocean here. We've had many earthquakes here in this area, and I fully expect this will continue. Now, I want to go down here to Japan, just off the coast of Hokkaido, Japan. We've had many earthquakes here. Earthquakes are continuing. This is a large 5.0 earthquake just off the coast of Hokkaido. Just about 3 or 4 days ago. 3 or 4 days ago, we had a 6.4 here on Hokkaido. Yes, there was some damage. People were shook up, but nobody hurt or injured. But this area is still having large earthquakes. We're going to keep an eye on this. We're going to keep a very close eye on Japan here. Okay? South of that earthquake, off the coast of Honshu, Japan here, this is a 4.4 earthquake here. A 4.4 earthquake here. Okay? This is southeast. I know I'm going to butcher this because I don't speak Japanese, but this is off the coast of Onagawa-cho, Japan. Onagawa-cho, Japan. This is a 4.6 earthquake, 64 kilometers deep. Still not a big deal. Not a huge deal. Let's go down here to Taiwan. Off the coast of Taiwan today, right here. This is a 4.4 earthquake here. Off the coast of Taiwan, the Pacific Ocean waters absorbed the shock waves of this quake. The shock waves would not bend much because it's just a moderate quake. Not going to do damage. This is also just over 9 kilometers deep. Okay? Now, down here in the Philippines, we have 4 earthquakes. The largest being a 4.5 just off the coast of Mindanao, Philippines, right here. Just off the northeast coast of Mindanao, Philippines here. The other earthquakes are small earthquakes, 3.0, 3.9. Not a big deal. The big deal is USGS doesn't want to talk about it. That's bad. That's bad. We know what happens when we have swarms of earthquakes, no matter how many they are. When we have swarms of earthquakes, that means there's seismic energy present that could cause large earthquakes. Could cause larger earthquakes. I don't want anybody to forget that. Down here in north central Indonesia, this is a large 5.0 earthquake over here in Bitung, Indonesia. 120 kilometers east of Bitung, Indonesia. Look where it's at. Out in the open ocean. Nobody felt anything from this earthquake. Nobody felt anything from this earthquake. Let's go further south here into the Banda Sea. This is a 4.6 earthquake here. This is, however, 166 kilometers deep. Still a fairly shallow earthquake. A fairly shallow earthquake. What you need to know is there are 28 earthquakes here in Indonesia. And USBS is showing us 2. That's very bad. That's very bad. We know what's going on here. Why do we have so many earthquakes here in Indonesia? It's because there are 7 tectonic plates. 7 tectonic plates throughout this whole area here. From Tonga and Samoa, south over here, encompassing New Zealand, Australia, and all of Papua New Guinea and Papua Indonesia here. Going up even in here to Taiwan and over here into Myanmar. 7 different tectonic plates, each one subducting under the other here. Each one of these tectonic plates are subducting under each other just like this. This is the largest subduction zone in the world. And you might think that USBS could get its act together to show what's going on. Folks, this is unreal. This is unreal. Suri's here in the chat asking what those interesting crowns are. I don't know. I was going to check into them last night and I didn't do it. I'm sorry. I will try to find out why YouTube is putting up these crowns on the chat. Okay, let's go over here into Myanmar, right up here. This is 1 out of 16 earthquakes here in Myanmar. 1 out of 16. This is a moderate 4.4 earthquake. Most of the other earthquakes here in Myanmar area are 1.5, 1.7, 2.2, and 2.8 earthquakes. A bunch of them here. But only this is a 4.4 earthquake. Again, 2 months ago, 2 long months ago, it should be shortened, but 2 long months ago, we had a major earthquake here, injuring and killing a lot of people, making them unalive and injured. They're still picking up the pieces every time an earthquake of this size happens. It shakes people up, literally. Okay? That's not an oxymoron. It's not to be funny. I'd be shaken up too if my home was damaged in any way, shape, or form. Yes, a lot of these homes here in Myanmar were leveled. Okay? Now, you're not seeing any earthquakes here in Indonesia. You're not seeing any earthquakes here in India, in the Himalaya Mountains, over here in Afghanistan, Tajikistan, or Kazakhstan. Why not? There are earthquakes here. These earthquakes are 4.4, 4.5, and 3.8 earthquakes here in Afghanistan, Tajikistan, and Kazakhstan. USGS still is not getting its act together. There are earthquakes here in Iran and Iraq. USGS, again, is absent. Let's go over here in the Turkish-Syria border region. There are 16 earthquakes here. 16 aftershocks of a major 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that hit here on February 3rd, 2023, over 2 years ago. This area is still getting hit with aftershocks. They are going to continue to see aftershocks here for more years than this. When we have a major earthquake such as this that happened here 2.5 years ago, they're going to continue to see earthquakes here for a long, long time. A long, long time. Let's go further to the west here. This area here is Western Turkey. Western Turkey. This earthquake here is a 5.5 large earthquake. A 5.5 large earthquake. Yes, people live in this region. People live in this region. There are going to be injuries from this quake. There may be even some fatalities in this quake. Here in this area, they don't have a lot of houses that can withstand earthquakes. So this earthquake hit, there's going to be some fatalities, there's going to be some injuries, and there's going to be some buildings that have been damaged as a result of this 5.8 very large earthquake here today. This earthquake hit earlier today. Okay? Actually, I'm sorry, it got hit last night. 1937 hours, 7:37 p.m. Eastern Time last night. Not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. Now, this area, because of where it's at, it's basically a hilly and mountainous area. I don't know the strata of the bedrock here. If it was dense bedrock here, the earthquake may have been felt all over the region here, throughout this region here, throughout this entire peninsula. It's possible. It's possible. There are some towns and cities here, and so we are going to experience some fatalities, possibly fatalities, injuries here, and complete loss of property. Complete loss of property in this area. Let's continue going out here, out into the Aegean Sea here. Look here. Again, the United States Geological Survey cannot take any credit for anything here. There are 10 earthquakes here. 10 earthquakes here. Why are we having earthquakes here? It's not because of the faults. It has nothing to do with faults. It has everything to do with magma beneath the surface. Magma beneath the surface of this ocean here. Magma that is hitting bedrock, fracturing rock in the bedrock. Fracturing the rock there, searching for a way to erupt. That's why we have earthquakes here. But again, USGS doesn't have the sense that God gave them to put up the quakes. That's the truth. Down here to the southeast of Crete, southeast Crete here. Here we have a 5.0 earthquake here. Yes, people live here. People live here. Being a large earthquake here, people felt this earthquake. Also, the people here in Greece don't have necessarily earthquake standards here. So anybody living here felt this quake. Anybody living here felt this quake, and there will be some damage here. There will be some damage here from this large 5.0 earthquake here today. Look at that. Right in the foothills north of this town here. Right in the foothills north of this town here. Okay? Let's pull out here. Look at this. They're still not showing any earthquakes in north central Italy here. They're not showing any earthquakes down here near Vesuvius volcano. Yet Vesuvius is still trying to erupt. Earthquakes hitting here every day. Over 400 earthquakes in the last month. Over 400 earthquakes here in the last month. And they expect us to believe that nothing's going on, especially when USGS shows here steam coming from the volcano. Problems, guys. Problems. There are earthquakes in this region here. There's going to be more and more earthquakes as magma trying to erupt at Vesuvius volcano. Again, this is an urban-sized area. An urban-sized area. When this volcano erupts, all kinds of hate, disgusting things are going to happen. Not hate against people. That's not going to happen, I don't think. But people are not going to be able to live through it. If this happens like I believe it will, there will be a lot of people displaced and a lot of fatalities in this area. This is a very urbanized area. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. And yes, some authorities have evacuated certain areas here in Italy. Okay? Down here to the south, we have Etna volcano erupting. Not a big deal. It's erupted before, putting on quite a show last night of fountaining lava at the top of the volcano. Not a big deal. Not affecting anyone on the island so far. Okay? Let's go up here to France and Switzerland and Germany. Not a thing said here. What a joke. There are tremors and minor earthquakes all throughout Switzerland, all over France. And USBS is not talking about it. Incredible. Minor earthquakes over here in southern Spain. A couple minor earthquakes over here in northern Spain. Not a big deal. There are earthquakes over here in the Azores, just south of Spain and Portugal here. Only a handful. Not a big deal either, really. But again, USGS is not talking about it. I have issues with that. Where we have earthquakes here, such as this, things happen. Things happen. And they can blow out of proportion. Once they start, they can blow out of proportion here. They may just do that. We've seen this happen before. In the Canary Islands here, in the Canary Islands, we have some minor tremors here, but not a big deal here either. Not a big deal here either. Now, I want to go over here to the United States. Now, folks, some things are changing here. Some things are changing here. Over in Eastern Canada, last night, we had some earthquakes. We had some tremors. Here. Now, if I can pull this up on my device, I'll show you what I mean. They were here last night, and I expect them to be here today. There are. Right here. Matane, Quebec, Canada. 1 mile west, and I'm saying 1 mile west doesn't mean anything. That means it's in Matane, Canada. Right here along the shoreline here. Look at that. It's just a tremor. Just a tremor. But again, USPS is not showing it. Why not? Why not? Tawny Canada right there. Okay? I have problems with it. Canadian Earthquake Agency puts up our earthquakes all over the place. Eastern Canada and Western Canada. Why is USGS not doing it? I have issues. Real issues. Look over here in Southern America. They're showing 2 earthquakes. One in Peru and the other over in southern Ecuador. Guess what? 26 earthquakes on the western side of South America. Chile, Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia. And USGS doesn't see anything. Over here in Central America, we have 10 earthquakes here. 10 earthquakes here. Actually, more than that now. We have 20 plus earthquakes here in Central America. It was 10 earlier today. There was 10 earthquakes here earlier. Now there's 20 plus. Let's go over here in the southern Mexico here. Southern Mexico here. I'm going to show you the earthquakes here in southern Mexico. Okay? They go further north than this. Look at that. They go just south to Puerto Vallarta. Just south of Puerto Vallarta here. There are 26 earthquakes here in southern Mexico. 26 earthquakes right here. Insane, huh? Absolutely is. It absolutely is. The USPS is showing 1 earthquake here. Lázaro Cárdenas, Mexico, a 4.6 earthquake. Well, guess what all these earthquakes are? 4.1, 4.4, 4.6, 3.0, 3.9. That's a lot of earthquakes. That's a lot of earthquakes. Now, folks, what happens when we get this many earthquakes here? What happens when we get this many earthquakes here? This usually means that we're soon going to see at least a 5.0 to a 7.0 earthquake here in southern Mexico. That's what that means. We're going to see a large 5.0 to 7.0 earthquake here in southern Mexico. It's going to happen. It's happened before. It's happened before. Let's go over here to Southern California here. Okay? I'm going to show you a lot of earthquakes here in Southern California. I'm very concerned what's happening here. I'm very concerned with what's happening here. I want to go over here to Chula Vista, California. They took it down. The dirty bounders took the earthquake down. Dadgum them. Chula Vista, California today, guys. Guess what? USPS said that there was a quarry blast in Chula Vista. They said there was a quarry blast in Chula Vista. Guess where this earthquake was? This is a 1.26 minor tremor here in Chula Vista. It's nowhere near a quarry. This is a housing development here in Chula Vista. Homes here. Not even apartments, but homes here in Chula Vista. Now USGS took it down. This happened at 3:38 this afternoon, and USPS took it down. I have issues with that, as you know. I have real issues. It's incredible what this agency gets away with. They took an earthquake down an hour later, within an hour later. How dare they? Earthquakes happen. They happen all the time. They took it down. Over in East County, San Diego, where I used to live. I used to live in Lakeside, California. Just north of where I used to live, we have an earthquake. This is a 1.43 tremor here in Lakeside, California. That is the earthquake they're showing here on the map. This earthquake right here. A 1.43 tremor here, Lakeside, California. They're saying Santee here. Santee is south of Lakeside. Santee is this community you see here, right there. That's Santee. Where this earthquake here is in Lakeside, north of Lakeside. Lakeside is right here. This is a small town, relatively small town, probably close to 45,000 people here now. I moved away from Lakeside way back in 1994. Okay, probably now 45,000 people. This earthquake here is in the hills of Lakeside, just south and west of Lakeside Reservoir right here. San Vicente Reservoir here in Lakeside. Okay, that's a man-made reservoir for water storage for San Diego. They're not showing many other earthquakes here, are they? Interesting. Interesting. I'm going to show you earthquakes all over Southern California. For example, this earthquake here. This is just north of Lake Elsinore, California. Lake Elsinore, California here. This is a 1.7 tremor here near Lake Elsinore. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. Just a tremor. Let's go over here into Los Angeles. Placentia, California. Placentia, California, here just north of Anaheim. Guess what? We have earthquakes. A lot of earthquakes here. USGS is reporting a 1.1 tremor here near Anaheim, Placentia, California. What I'm going to show you is more than just tremors here. They're showing us one tremor. There's hundreds of tremors here in the Anaheim area. There's also a bunch of larger earthquakes here in Anaheim, California. I'm going to show you those as well. Long Beach here. They're not showing you any earthquakes here in Long Beach. I'm going to show you earthquakes here in Long Beach. A lot of earthquakes here. A lot of earthquakes here. They're not showing them. Why not? I want to show you some other places here, such as right up here. We talked about Covina here. We talked about El Monte, Rosemead, Arcadia here, East Los Angeles, Pasadena area here. We have earthquakes. We have earthquakes. I'm going to show you quite a few earthquakes here today. This is going to blow your mind. Why is it going to blow your mind? Why do you think this is going to blow your mind? Because this earthquake fault right here, this earthquake fault right here is called the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault. Now, why is that concerning? Because the San Andreas Fault is locked and loaded. The San Andreas Fault is locked and loaded. Okay? I'm telling you guys, if any of you live in Southern California, or if you have homes in Southern California, or if you have family or friends here in Southern California, be advised, you need to share this program far and wide, because these people in Southern California will be affected when this earthquake hits. It's going to be a major earthquake. It's going to be a major earthquake. I want to talk about this. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you seismographs, which are computer readouts from the computer printout from the seismograph. I'm going to show you earthquakes today hitting this area. This is serious. This whole area with its corresponding fault lines all over the LA basin. The LA basin here is full of fault lines. These fault lines also intersect with the San Andreas Fault. They're ancillary faults of the San Andreas Fault. So when the San Andreas Fault goes, this whole area will be devastated. This whole area will be devastated, I promise you. I'm going to show you a lot of earthquakes here. You need to understand, we are due for a major earthquake in Southern California. It will happen. It will happen. I promise you. Then what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Let me give you some data. Let me give you something to think about here. The San Andreas Fault is about to crack. What happens then? Can anybody tell me what happens when the San Andreas Fault that is locked and loaded pops? Ernie Martinez is back. Thank you for being here, Ernie. Dennis is here. Thank you for being here. Deb Reese is here. Fire Sword is here. Thank you. Now, I got this information direct from the Southern California Earthquake Center. The director of the Southern California Earthquake Center, Thomas Jordan, made an announcement recently that should be sending chills down your spines, down the spines of every California here. The San Andreas Fault appears to be in a very critical state, and as such, it could generate a large earthquake imminently. It could generate a large earthquake here imminently. By a large, I'm talking about a 5.5 to an 8.0 earthquake. A 5.5 to an 8.0 earthquake. Now, this could be a reiteration of this seismic hazard to all Californians. To all Californians, this could be nothing to be surprised about, because most Californians recognize one thing. Most Californians recognize that they live in earthquake country. They are probably expecting this quake to happen, and it will. But what is new is a warning. What is new is the warning that southern portion of the fault looks like it's locked and loaded and ready to go. Now, why is this eminent seismologist making these alarming statements? The fact of the matter is this: the San Andreas Fault has not been a major release in the southern portion since 1857. There's not been a major release of the fault, the San Andreas Fault, since 1857, nearly 200 years ago. In simple terms, the San Andreas Fault is one of many faults roughly marking the border between the Pacific Plate, as we talked about last week, and the North American tectonic plate. Two different plates. The Pacific Plate, where the Pacific Ocean is, and the North American Fault, where the Earth is. in terms of where this fault is. You see this fault here near Santa Clarita, California. On the west side of the fault is the Pacific Plate. You go further west and you get to the Pacific Ocean, don't you? In this area, the Pacific Plate is subducting underneath the San Andreas Fault. And the San Andreas Fault is locked and loaded. Locked and loaded. Both plates, the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate, are moving in approximately a northern direction, but the Pacific Plate is moving faster than its North American counterpart, meaning the stresses between the plates are constantly building up. The stresses between the plates are constantly building up. Why is that important? We just got through having a huge solar eruption. A huge solar eruption. While the USGS is not showing all the earthquakes, there are a bunch of earthquakes as a result of that solar eruption. The plasma energy generated from that solar eruption came across space at more than 1 million miles per hour. It came through our magnetosphere that is weak, because before last year we were in a solar minimum. Now we are in a solar maximum with a weak magnetosphere. Normally that magnetosphere would shelter us from some of the plasma energy, but that's not the case right now. The plasma energy is coming through the magnetosphere, through our atmosphere, and onto the Earth. What happens then? That plasma radiation heats up the plates, it heats up the faults, and what happens? When it heats up the plates, it reduces the friction that holds the plates in place. That means we're going to have an earthquake. Yes, we've had quite a few earthquakes today, but again, the San Andreas Fault is locked and loaded. And we could have imminently upwards of an 8.0 earthquake here. In 1906, some of the stresses were catastrophically released in the San Francisco Bay Area with a 7.8 earthquake. 1906, 7.8 magnitude earthquake, Northern California. In 1989, the Loma Prieta quake hit in San Francisco. The Hayward Fault let loose with a 6.9. But now seismologists are saying it was a much larger quake than that. Events of these magnitudes, however, have not occurred along the San Andreas Fault in the southern part of the state. The 1994 Northridge earthquake was associated with a separate but distinct fault system. The Northridge earthquake was nearby, just west of the San Andreas, but it was on a separate fault system, leading to the suggestion that the San Andreas Fault is imminent. And given the amount of stress that might actually have been accumulated on the fault, when it arrives, when the earthquake happens, it will be the big one. So just how big could this potential earthquake be? And is it possible that the destruction demonstrated in the San Andreas film could actually come to fruition? The simple answer is yes. The simple answer is yes. The demonstration of the movie San Andreas was fictional. But I'm telling you this, other than a tsunami, tsunami's not going to happen with the San Andreas Fault earthquake. But the earthquake damage is going to be significant. When the San Andreas Fault ruptures, it will cause a significant earthquake with widespread impacts. The magnitude of the quake and the specific location of the rupture will determine the severity of the damage. But potential consequences include horizontal movement along the fault line, horizontal movement along the fault line, north, south, and up and down. Horizontal movement along the fault. Can you say landslides? Look at this area here. Look at the area on the map. Folks, this will tell you that there are hills here. I've been in Santa Clarita. I've been in Santa Barbara. This is going to be a major earthquake. This whole communities all around this area will be affected. Hills all over LA. There will be landslides. We've already seen landslides in various areas of Palos Verdes. What else might you see? How about liquefaction? Liquefaction, what happens there? We talked about that last week. Liquefaction happens when there's a lot of shaking going on. Liquefaction raises the water table. The water table lifts up to the surface in terms of shaking. The shaking lifts the water table up. The water table lifts up and goes into the loamy, sandy soil. So where you have loamy, sandy soil is where we're going to see what we call liquefaction going on. Quicksand. Quicksand. I'm telling you guys, it's going to be bad. Total Vagabonds is here. I talked about you just earlier when we first went on the air. I was expecting you kind of to be here. Thank you very much, Total Vagabonds. You're awesome. Appreciate you. Anyway, folks, there's going to be liquefaction in certain areas. Landslides in certain areas. Horizontal movement. Horizontal and vertical movement. Severe shaking. Very severe shaking. If any of you have seen the San Andreas Fault movie, you saw severe shaking from a filmmaker's point of view. That's going to happen. The impact area that we're going to see this happen in is about 60 square miles in any direction. The impact area could be 60 square miles out from the epicenter of the fault, potentially damaging infrastructure, buildings, homes, businesses, gas lines, water lines, electrical lines. Infrastructure is going to be damaged, causing widespread disruption of power, widespread disruption of water, widespread disruption of humanity. We all have seen the freeways in Los Angeles. Freeways and highways all over LA will be damaged. Some people that have left their homes and gone to work probably not be able to return home because of the damage of the roadways. We talked about this before when we talked about emergency preparedness. I'm just giving you a heads up. I'm giving you a heads up. Again, I want everybody here to share this program far and wide. The San Andreas Fault is imminent to happen. It will happen. The earthquake will happen. And probably happen more sooner than later. Now, as I said before, the director of the Southern California Earthquake Center said, this is imminent. This is imminent. It's locked and loaded and ready to go. What's going to happen? Rebecca Griffiths is here. Thank you, Rebecca. God bless you. Rebecca Griffiths is a dear friend of mine. I've known her for many years now. A great lady. Debris says you need to have a bug out bag in your car. That's a great idea. And Pickering says Los Angeles is dead at the moment. Yes. But what you're not knowing is that Los Angeles, greater LA area has been hit with a lot of earthquakes today, mostly 3.0, 3.5, and a bunch of tremors and minor earthquakes. I'm going to show you some of those earthquakes in just a few minutes. But again, the fault line on the east side of LA is ready to go. But when it ruptures, the entire LA area will be devastated because the area away from the fault goes 60 miles in any direction, meaning this entire area will be affected. Okay? Will be affected. Now, are you ready for what's going to happen? I hope so. I certainly hope so. I'm worried about all of you. We have a lot of families from EMA here. We have a lot of EMA families here, a lot. And all of you will be affected. All of you will be affected. I have family in Southern California. Rob 52's daughter lives in Southern California. Another daughter of his lives up in San Francisco. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? As I said, there is a very good chance that we may see the San Andreas Fault hit very soon. Very soon. The size of the earthquake, the magnitude of the earthquake, and the specific location where the rupture occurs will heavily influence the level of damage in other areas. A major earthquake on the San Andreas Fault could reach upwards of a magnitude 7.8 or larger. A magnitude 7.8 or larger. The ground will shake violently, potentially causing damage to buildings and infrastructure throughout the area. Horizontal displacement along the fault line will be significant, potentially reaching 20 feet or more. 20-foot displacement, 20-foot displacement horizontally or vertically. Horizontally and vertically. In short, Californians will be reasonably pleased with the answers to these questions. In the film, the San Andreas Fault produces an earthquake of a magnitude 9.0. No, I do not expect a 9.0 to hit here on the San Andreas Fault. We have talked about a 9.0, 10.0 happening off the coast of Seattle, Tacoma area. That's going to happen. That seismic energy will be radiated all the way down to northern Mexico along the San Andreas Fault. However, when the Cascadia earthquake happens, by the time the energy itself comes out of Washington, Oregon, and even Northern California, By the time the energy gets down here to Southern California, the quake here, the shaking here in Los Angeles, San Diego, Santa Barbara, and even over here into the Imperial Valley will probably be a 6.5 to 7.0 earthquake here in Southern California. But the San Andreas Fault itself is locked and loaded right now. The San Andreas Fault is locked and loaded right now and capable of upwards of an 8.0 earthquake, a major 8.0 earthquake, just like we saw in Puerto Rico 2 years ago. Now, no, it's not going to have a 9.0 major earthquake, but it is going to be significant, even upwards of an 8.0. Now, while not unheard of globally, earthquakes of this size are generally confined to regions of the Earth where subduction is present. That's exactly what we have here is subduction, where one tectonic plate is forced underneath another like this. In this case, the Pacific plate is subducting underneath the North American plate, just like that. Okay? We've seen this over in Chile. We've seen it in Japan. The tectonic situation in California is different. Here, the two plates are sliding past each other like this. Still, the Pacific plate is subducting, but they're sliding past each other like this. As such, recent predictions limit the possible magnitude of the earthquake along the San Andreas Fault to be an 8.0, with a 7% possibility that an event could occur in Southern California very soon. Over this same period, there is a 75% chance of a 7.0, still a major earthquake. The 75% chance of it being a 7.0 major earthquake, similar to what we saw in Northridge. Now, while magnitudes of 7.0, 8.0, and 9.0 might sound negligibly different, I don't know why I had a hard time putting that word out. 7.0, 8.0, 9.0 are a little bit different. But the energy from such events would unleash various significantly. The 9.0 event could release 32 times more energy than an 8.0. The 9.0 event could release 32 times more energy than an 8.0 quake, and 1,000 times more energy than the 7.0. 1,000 times more energy than the 7.0. Obviously, however, be it a 7.0 or an 8.0 earthquake, damage is going to be inevitable. The whole sequence of events as depicted in the San Andreas film is unlikely. The sequence of events depicted in the film is unlikely. There are only two places along the San Andreas Fault that is beneath the ocean. In the film, there was a tsunami, remember? In the film, there was a tsunami. There's only two places on Earth where the San Andreas Fault is underwater. The first place is off the coast of Petrolia, California. It's highly unlikely that the San Andreas Fault itself could produce an 8.0, 9.0 earthquake there. But the Cascadia earthquake, the Cascadia megathrust earthquake event, could radiate seismic energy from the north all the way down into northern Mexico. But say the San Andreas Fault was going to see a 9.0 earthquake there. The Pacific Plate is subducting under Petrolia, California. We've already seen earthquakes in that area recently. The next place, folks, the next place where the San Andreas Fault is subducting, guys. Let me bring down this map and show you. The next place is right here, just west of San Francisco Bay. This is where the San Andreas Fault is underneath the ocean, where the Pacific Plate is subducting here. In this case here, if the San Andreas was going to produce by itself a 9.0 earthquake here, then we would see a tsunami here. If the Cascadia earthquake hit here, producing seismic waves radiating all the way down here from Washington, we could also see a tsunami here. Because again, the San Andreas Fault is going over the top of the Pacific Plate. Okay? The Pacific Plate here is subducting. Today here on the east side of San Francisco Bay to the north. This is Rodeo, California. This is a 2.0 earthquake here. To the south here, central San Francisco. Alameda, California, here we have a 1.6 tremor here. Near the Hayward Fault, just west of the Hayward Fault. Okay? You can see the other earthquakes here on the San Andreas Fault. One here just west of Monterey Bay in Gilroy, California. Another 2.0 earthquake here. Further south here, Tres Pinos, a 1.5 tremor here. Further south, the Pinnacles. This is a 1.4 tremor here. The Pinnacles is also an oil and gas producing area. Pumps and jacks all throughout the hills here. Further south here, the earthquake capital of California, Fairfield, California. This is another 2.0 here. This is also an area where the San Andreas Fault is locked and loaded here. Fairfield, California. Again, today we see a 2.0 earthquake here. Okay? Then it really goes south. It keeps going inland here. Now, folks, you might see this is very far inland of Santa Barbara. But again, when we have a major earthquake here on the San Andreas Fault, it could affect Santa Barbara to a great extent as well. Not just Los Angeles and San Diego, but Santa Barbara also. I'm just telling you. You need to understand this. I hope you understand this very well. I'm not prophesying anything, but I am telling you what's going on. You very much need to be aware of what's happening, because it will happen. It will happen. Now, it is highly unlikely that the San Andreas Fault will hit up in San Francisco Bay, but it will in Southern California. It's locked and loaded. When it happens, it will cause major disastrous consequences. Anywhere else south of there, the San Andreas Fault is far enough inland not to cause any kind of tsunami at all. But We have seen major earthquakes lately open up fissures in the earth. It is possible. Scientists are saying it's improbable, but it is possible that this earthquake is going to open up a fissure, a chasm, like we saw in Turkey, like we've seen over in the Antarctic, and various other places where we've had 9.0 earthquakes before, where the plates are sliding against each other. It's highly unlikely to happen. When the plates are sliding apart like this, that is when we have a chasm open up. But because the plate is slipping sideways like this, it's unlikely we're going to have a fissure open up, but it could happen. It could happen. What is realistic, however, is the great amount of destruction that is likely when this earthquake happens. While the building codes in California are stringent, recommending retrofitting of separate seismic protection measures, retrofitting seismic protection measures to older buildings and preventing the construction of new buildings near known fault areas. It's interesting because we still have construction along the San Andreas Fault anyway. It's proven that the landowners along the fault line are not paying attention. You would think, knowing that there's a fault there, that they would not build alongside the fault line, but they are. But there's no way to make a building 100% safe from any one earthquake. In an attempt to try to understand the effects of a large earthquake in Southern California along the San Andreas Fault, the USGS modeled a 7.8 magnitude event with a slippage of 2 to 7 meters. 2 to 7 meters. 2 meters is 6 feet. 7 meters is 21 feet. 7 meters is 21 feet. Can you imagine the slippage on the San Andreas Fault of 21 feet? That would be huge. That would be huge, guys. Magnificent Sales is asking about liquefaction in Florida. They had an earthquake in Florida today. There is an earthquake fault in Florida, and they had an earthquake in Florida. Now, folks, if we have a major earthquake in Florida, yes, there will be liquefaction. There already is liquefaction from slight shaking, very slight shaking. We've seen a hotel just a few years ago, and we covered this. We talked about the hotel going down, having been demolished because of the earthquakes that happened. Just minor tremors, but those minor tremors caused that hotel to fall. Liquefaction happened. Yes, there will be liquefaction when a major earthquake happens in Florida, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I don't think we're going to have a major earthquake in Florida anytime soon. Yes, it is possible. It very much is possible. But here in Southern California and along the New Madrid Fault, there is going to be liquefaction happening. I promise. Here on the San Andreas Fault here in Southern California. Imagine having a fault move anywhere from 6 to 21 feet horizontally like this. 6 to 21 feet moving like this. It'll be a major earthquake. A very major earthquake. Surgery says maybe parts problems would depend on the size of the earthquake. Yes. The size of the earthquake has an immediate interest in that. I wish these telemarketers would take a hike. There will be liquefaction depending on the size of the quake. There has been liquefaction anyway, even with tremors in Florida. We've seen that happen. Now, because USGS modeled that as a slippage of anywhere from 6 to 21 feet, it is possible, and it was found that the damage would be most severe to construction straddling the fault line. Construction straddling the fault line. What happened in Parkfield, California? If you go back and learn the history of Parkfield, California, there's a reason it's called earthquake capital of California and the earthquake capital of the world. More earthquakes have happened in Parkfield, California than anywhere else in the world. There is a building, there is a business within Parkfield built right on top of the fault. And the last time the earthquake hit in Parkfield, it was a very large earthquake, and the building moved like this. The building moved just like this. There was about a 5 to 6 foot displacement. A 5 to 6 foot displacement. The business had to add on a large alcove off to the side of both buildings so people could stay inside the buildings after the earthquake hit. There is a sign, a seismic sign, that had also moved in Parkfield, California. A sign moved to the extent that one sign was here and the other side of the sign was here. Horizontal movement, guys. Horizontal movement. Any building that is straddling the San Andreas Fault is going to have structural problems. It may not stand. It might not stand. Now, there is a law in Southern California, the 1972 Alquist-Priolo Earthquake Fault Zoning Act. Fortunately, constructions of the sort that straddle the fault line, they're few and far between. But the 1972 Alquist-Priolo Earthquake Fault Zoning Act prevents it from happening. What would be affected by this kind of slippage? There are 966 roads, 90 fiber optic cables, 39 gas pipes, and 141 power lines that cross the fault zone. 966 roads, 90 fiber optic cables, 39 gas pipes, and 141 power lines straddling the fault zone. That will give you an idea what's going to happen. That should give you a good idea what's going to happen. Yes, it will. The total cost of damage to buildings is estimated to be at $33 billion. $33 billion. With modern buildings faring fairly well, but older buildings being particularly susceptible to seismic waves. Fires are also going to rage, as I've talked about before. Fires raged in Northridge, California after that earthquake, as gas mains burst, gas lines burst, water mains burst, water pipelines burst. There's not going to be much water to fight the fires, and any water available will have to be either piped in or flown in on helicopters and planes. But the airports are also going to be seeing damage. In fact, the damage resulting from a fire is estimated as more costly than that earthquake, that damage resulting from the initial shaking. The fire damage is going to be more costly than the earthquake shaking damage to the buildings. Unreal, huh? Let's talk briefly about landslides and liquefaction. Earthquakes can trigger landslides. We talked about this, especially on slopes. As you saw with the fires over in Los Angeles last year, there are a lot of hills over in Los Angeles. There will be landslides. There's hills over in San Diego. There's hills over in the Imperial Valley. There will be landslides. Slopes falling down. Liquefaction in sandy and loamy soil areas, near the foothills of the mountains especially. The Imperial Valley has nothing but sandy soil. It's a desert. It's a desert. Sandy soil is everywhere. Sandy soil is everywhere. There's going to be infrastructure damage. Roads, bridges, power lines, water lines, communication systems are all vulnerable to damage. A major earthquake could disrupt all services for a long period of time. Water, power, electrical, and cable will be disrupted for a long period of time. Fires. We saw what happened in Los Angeles during the last fire season that happened there. Quadruple that damage when it comes to fires from the San Andreas Fault. Broken gas lines and power lines are going to start fires. Economic damage. You might say, what's going to happen with economics in Los Angeles? The damage and disruption from a major earthquake can have significant economic consequences in the greater Southern California region. Human impacts. Los Angeles got through recently having a shakeout scenario. Most states here in the United States have shakeout drills once a year, sometimes twice. The shakeout scenario for a 7.8 major earthquake in Southern California predicts thousands of injuries and thousands of fatalities, displacement of populations, and long-term efforts of recovery. Long-term recovery efforts. The overall death toll is estimated to be at least 1,800 people. And just when things don't look like they could get any worse. The main event will be disestablished tectonic plates in the region. The plate is going to be disestablished. Movement. Huge movement. Huge movement. Huge movement is causing damage. Huge movement is causing damage, guys. Now, guys, I'm just going to deviate just a few minutes from earthquakes to talk about what Renee Steffi has put up in the chat. We have all told you during the past few days about rainfall and flash flooding. Guess what is happening in Las Vegas right now? And this does happen because of monsoon season. Flash flooding. A thunderstorm warning. Flash flood warning in Las Vegas. 5:45 p.m. today, right now. A flash flood warning for Las Vegas. If you guys are in Vegas right now, you need to move to higher floors of the hotels and your homes. Yes, there are hillsides outside of Vegas. You need to get to a hillside away from the flooding. The valley floor in Las Vegas floods very regularly during these monsoon seasons. Now is not the time to be on the valley floor, either driving or walking. This is a dangerous time. Okay? There is a thunderstorm warning issued in St. Louis, Missouri. A thunderstorm warning in St. Louis issued from 4:43 p.m. Central Time to 5:15 p.m. Central Time, which is another half hour from now. Get to higher ground. Get to your storm shelter. Get to your storm shelter or to the center of your house immediately. Welcome, Kathy Berryman. Thank you for being here. Now, I've been in earthquakes. I've been in earthquakes in San Diego. I was assisting Northridge Police and LA Police in Northridge, California after the 1994 quake there. I know what powerful earthquakes look like. For example, in 2011, there was a Christchurch earthquake. Christchurch was struck by a 6.2 very strong earthquake. Since then, the surrounding city and region have experienced more than 10,000 aftershocks. 10,000 aftershocks since 2011. That's unreal. That's unreal. That means approximately 1,000 earthquakes a year. 1,000 earthquakes a year in Christchurch, New Zealand. Folks, we are having earthquakes here in Los Angeles right now. Fortunately for us, the San Andreas film is fictitious, pure fiction. But the damage is not going to be fiction. The damage that's going to happen with this earthquake in Southern California is not going to be fiction. It's not going to be an exaggeration as the film was. We are all used to exaggerated films from the filmmakers. But what's about to happen in Southern California is not going to be an exaggeration. It's going to be real. And in all probability, the San Andreas is likely to generate a significant earthquake in the very not too distant future. When it arrives, the damage will be significant and Southern California will be massively affected. Californians are not any strangers to these kind of events. And the infrastructure of the state in recent times have been designed to withstand earthquakes. But no building design can be 100% safe. This problem is not all of the businesses and the business buildings and homes that have been built with earthquake codes in mind. A lot of the buildings all throughout Southern California are homes and businesses that were built prior to 1970. Those are the buildings that are going to go down with violent shaking, violent building damage, fires, and widespread economic impacts. The entire Southern California region will be out of action for a potentially long period of time. Fact. Fact. Does anybody have any questions for me? Does anybody have any questions for me? This is the second time we've talked about earthquakes in Southern California involving the San Andreas Fault. It is going to happen. It's going to happen in a major way. a very major way. Now I want to show you something else. I told you I was going to show you seismograms showing you earthquakes in Los Angeles today. I'm about to show you that information right now. Look at Fontana on the east side of Los Angeles. Look at this. This is serious. Fontana's been having 2.0, 2.5, 3.0, and 3.5 earthquakes for the last year. This is not the only place. That's not the only place. Let's look in East LA. Ellis, California. Look at this. This earthquake that you see in the center upper portion of this slide here. Ellis, California. Folks, they had a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake this morning. A 2.8, 2.9 earthquake this morning. Starting about 6:40 a.m. this morning. Look at that. They had even more shaking later this morning after 11:57 a.m. this morning on the bottom right. They've had a bunch of tremors as well. This is serious. Ellis, California. Let's show you Rinaldi right here. In Rinaldi here, all the seismograms I'm going to show you tonight start at 5 a.m. this morning. And I pulled this information right after 12 noon. Here we're seeing tremors. I don't see any 2.0 earthquakes here in Rinaldi, California. However, let's go over to Moore Park, also east of Los Angeles. Look here. Yes, we do have some minor tremors and minor earthquakes happening here, but we're also seeing 3.0 small earthquakes here. Not all, folks. Not all, folks. Let's go over to Long Beach. I want you to see what's going on in Long Beach. Folks, I've been studying this a long time. Look here in Long Beach. This is light hype. This seismogram is called the light hype. This is in Long Beach. Look at all the earthquake data here. Side to side, top to bottom, all day long. For the most part, these are just minor, moderate earthquakes. Moderate earthquakes, 2.0 to 2.9 earthquakes. But we've seen 3.0 small quakes here before. How about Anaheim, California? Would you like to take a look at Anaheim, California? I think we should. I think we should, guys. Look at this. Yes, we've had some minor earthquakes here as well. 2.0, 2.9 earthquakes here. In the past 2 months, in the past actually 3 to 4 months, here in Anaheim, we've seen 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes hit here. Today, these are all minor earthquakes, 2.0, 2.9. Earthquakes are still hitting here in Los Angeles. Literally everywhere. Literally everywhere. Let's go over here just south of Los Angeles into Laguna, California. Here in Laguna, we have tremors. This is along the coastline of Los Angeles. Tremors here. Let's go out to the Imperial Valley, south in the Imperial Valley, where the Salton Sea is. I want you to see what's going on. Over on the southeastern side of the Salton Sea, we have a town called Calipatria. These are the earthquakes that happen in Calipatria area today. Look at all these earthquakes here. This seismogram here covers earthquakes from 1 p.m. yesterday afternoon until today. These are earthquakes ranging in size from 2.7, 2.8 on up to 4.0 earthquakes. On up to 4.0 earthquakes. When you can see these red lines here cut off on the top and the bottom, you know that that earthquake was a lot larger than they're showing it to be, because the agency doesn't want us to see large earthquakes. 3.5 to 4.0 moderate earthquakes here in Calipatria. That's what's going on here. They happened all day long here. All day long. The bottom of this seismogram ends at 12:30. But you can see the earthquakes here. As I said, the seismic activity here in the Imperial Valley is big. It's going to be. It's going to be. Now, while I showed you that, let me show you earthquake activity around the rest of the Imperial Valley. I showed you Los Angeles. Let's look at the rest of the Imperial Valley. I wish we had our friend Juanito here. Juanito lives in the town called El Centro. El Centro is over on the southwest side of the Salton Sea. Look at this. Look at this hitting here. Folks, El Centro has been having upwards of 20 3.0 or larger earthquakes every day. 23.0 and larger earthquakes every day. 3.0 is the low end of a small quake, meaning here in El Centro, they have been having 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes just like this for months now, every day for months. Here in El Centro, it's not because of the San Andreas Fault, but Calipatria is. Calipatria is part of it. There's more. Let's go northeast of El Centro to a town called Imperial, California. Look at this. Yes, we have tremors here. We are also seeing minor earthquakes, 2.0, 2.9 minor earthquakes. But over here on the left-hand side center here, just after 8:30 on the blue line here, is their first 3.0 earthquake of the day. 3.0, 3.2 earthquake here in the town of Imperial today. Just after 8:33 a.m. this morning. Just after 8:33 this morning. After 7 a.m. this morning, look on that black line above there. Minor earthquakes. The earthquake sequence here lasts over 4 minutes. How would you like to have shaking at your home or business where you work? The last 3 to 5 minutes. That's what's happened here in the town of Imperial today. It's not over. We're not done here yet. Let's go over to the southwestern side of the Salton Sea. Here we see the town of Westmoreland. The town of Westmoreland. Here we are seeing nothing but tremors and 2.02.2 earthquakes. The 2.02 point earthquakes happened after 9:32 this morning and 9:47 this morning as well on the green line. Still a lot of seismic events. A lot. Folks, it happens. It happens. It is happening now. The entire San Andreas Fault is happening in Southern California. It's about to break loose. It is about to break loose. Do you have any questions for me? Do you have any questions for me? This is happening, guys. This is happening. It's only going to get bigger. What I show you today is only going to get larger and larger and larger. Richard Smith says here in the chat, nature doesn't care about your stuff. Absolutely. Juan is asking, how far will the tsunami reach? You must not have been here earlier when I said here in Southern California, there will be no tsunami. The earthquake will be over land for the most part, too far inland. Tsunamis only happen when the earthquake hits out in the ocean. This earthquake is going to hit land. There's going to be a lot of devastation from that earthquake on land. It's going to be unreal. Juan is asking, will people in Arizona be affected by the earthquake? If so, how? People in Arizona may be affected by the earthquake in terms of shaking. People in Arizona are going to be probably, I want to say, anywhere from 70 to 80 miles away from their original earthquake. If the earthquake is large enough, the people in Phoenix and Tucson may be able to feel shaking. People as far north as Flagstaff might also be able to feel shaking from one of these earthquakes. It will be a major 7.0 to an 8.0 earthquake. And they might feel some shaking in Arizona. There is a military base over in western Arizona. It's highly likely that they will be affected by the earthquake to a great extent because they will be within like 60 or 70 miles away from the epicenter of the earthquake. If it hits in northern Mexico or the Imperial Valley, like it did in 2010. April 3rd, 2010 is when we had a 7.1 earthquake in Guadalupe, Victoria, Mexico, at the Mexico-U.S. border. Mexicali there was devastated, torn apart by that major earthquake. On the other side, on the U.S. side also was devastated. Major damage. I was in San Diego when that earthquake hit. Great big huge panes of glass fell out of skyscrapers. In the Imperial Valley in El Centro, in Imperial, Holtville, even Mexicali and Calexico. Mexicali on the south in Mexico and Calexico on the north side in California. There are no skyscrapers there, but major damage nonetheless. Buildings were damaged, torn apart. lives are also torn apart. That happens when you have major earthquakes. And yes, this is going to happen. This will definitely happen. Those are all good questions, and I appreciate you asking. Charlie's asking, how about the new underwater volcano in the Pacific? That's over off the Blanco fracture zone off of Oregon. I've been told it has stopped erupting. I've been told that that volcano has stopped erupting. It only erupted for about a week, less than a week. Thank you for asking the question, though. I appreciate that. Any other questions about earthquakes or whatever? I'm here to answer your earthquake questions. Renee Steffi is saying a major tornado in Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma, right in Tornado Alley. Significant tornado headed towards Norman, Oklahoma, radar indicated. Demon Catman is putting information up about our email. You can send us email questions, or you can even put them over in the comment section directly below this video today. I look forward to seeing your comments after this video is over. Folks, I want to leave a devotion with you. Those of you that are new to my channel, I am a Christian man. I'm a disciple of Christ. I've been teaching the gospel of Jesus Christ for a lot of years. I'm very familiar with the scriptures. When Jesus Christ chose his disciples, John the Baptist baptized Jesus Christ. Christ had his disciples baptized. Why? One, for forgiveness of sins. Two, so it was a ceremony symbolic of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Yes, by baptism we can be forgiven of our sins. But coming out of the waters of baptism, I'm talking about baptism by immersion. Coming out of the waters of baptism is like becoming a new man, a resurrected person. We can do that. We can do that. Let's become like Christ. Let's follow Christ's example. Let's follow Christ's example. Obedience to the commandments, 1. Following him, 2. Praying and receiving direction and inspiration from God directly for us. That can happen. That can happen. With our program today, I told you about that earthquake because I want you to consider very seriously having an emergency preparedness plan. An emergency preparedness plan for whatever disaster might happen, including earthquakes. You also need to have an emergency preparedness kit. I'm asking you to have those as well. Folks, if anything more happens tonight, we will be back out on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. The same thing in the morning. Anything happens tonight or the morning, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Otherwise, we will see you sometime shortly after 4 o'clock tomorrow evening with another episode of Emergency Management Associates. Please, folks, leave comments for us in the comment section just below this video today. And also, if you want to help support this effort, you see our PayPal and Venmo locations scrolling across the screen. Send us also letters and cards here. My wife and I really love that. Send us letters and cards and tell us how you are preparing for a disaster or emergency in your own life. You can also slip in a donation in those cards and letters as well. That happens. It's okay. Folks, we are having severe weather in the Midwest. Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri especially, going into Illinois and Indiana. Make sure you have your radios tuned to news talk stations on the AM, FM bands. If you have an AM, FM weather radio like we talked about before, tune into the weather station. Tune into it for the latest weather reports about the tornadoes that are happening. It's going to happen. I ask God to be with you this day and always. Thank you all for being here. Demon Catman, I welcome you back. I really love Demon Catman. He's a great man. I've never met him. He lives in the east of England, but he's a great man. He's a great moderator. We appreciate him being here. Surgery, thank you also for being here. All of you, thank you for being here. God bless you for being here. Renee, Surgery, all of our mods. We appreciate and love you. We love all of our EMA family. Linda, you as well. Lana, you as well. Hector, Kathy, Charlie, Ann, all of you. We love and appreciate you being here. Richard as well. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate you, brother. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side.